From rebellion to redemption, a tyrant falls and a new era begins. The crew of a legendary ship faces their final mission as old powers crumble and new leaders rise. In a fractured galaxy, unity is forged through sacrifice as the stars call. Once more, one legacy ends and another takes flight. This is the final chapter of a universe that changed science fiction forever. The Expanse began as a relatively modest science fiction series, but quickly grew into one of the most acclaimed shows in the genre. Initially airing on Sci-Fi in 2015, the series was praised for its commitment to realistic science, intricate world-building, and deep character development. However, it was until Amazon picked up the show after its cancellation that it reached a broader audience and truly hit its stride. Over time, The Expanse evolved from a niche space drama into a cultural phenomenon, attracting praise from critics and fans alike. Its journey from a cult favorite to a mainstream sci-fi heavyweight is a testament to the power of dedicated storytelling and a passionate fan community. The Expanse is based on the novel series of the same name by James S. A. Corey, the joint pen name of authors Daniel Abraham and Ty Frank. The first novel, Leviathan Wakes, was nominated for the Hugo Award for Best Novel in 2012. The complete series was nominated for the Hugo Award for Best Series in 2017 and later won following its second nomination in 2020. The television adaptation was developed by Mark Fergus and Hawk Ostby for the Sci-Fi Network. It premiered on December 14, 2015, and ran for 3 seasons before being cancelled. Fans protested the cancellation, gathering over 100,000 signatures for an online petition and lobbying Amazon Studios and Netflix to greenlight the 4th season. A crowdfunding campaign even paid for an airplane to fly a "Save the Expanse" banner around Amazon Studios. Celebrities including Will Wheaton, George R.R. Martin, Patton Oswalt, and astronaut Andreas Mogensen supported the campaign. Amazon Prime Video picked up the series for a 4th season, which was released on December 12, 2019. The series concluded with its 6th season, released on January 14, 2022. Critically, The Expanse received positive responses, with particular praise for its visuals, character development, and political narrative. It received a Hugo Award for Best Dramatic Presentation and 3 Saturn Award nominations for Best Science Fiction Television Series. The series is set in a future where humanity has colonized the solar system. The 3 largest powers are the United Nations of Earth and Luna, the Martian Congressional Republic on Mars, and the Outer Planets Alliance, OPA, a loose political confederation of colonies scattered across the asteroid belt and the moons of Jupiter and Saturn. The United Nations is a militaristic, ultra-capitalist society with authoritarian undertones, while the Martians have evolved into a corporatist culture. Both ruthlessly exploit and oppress the belter populations of the OPA to gain control of their valuable natural resources. The series follows a disparate band of protagonists: United Nations Security Council member Christian Avasarala, Shore Agdashlu, cynical detective Josephus Miller, Thomas Jane, and ship's officer James Holden, Stephen Strait, and his crew. They unwittingly unravel and place themselves at the center of a conspiracy that threatens the system's fragile peace, while dealing with existential crises brought forth by newly discovered alien technology. The show's commitment to scientific realism is noteworthy. Executive producer Naran Shankar, a former Ph.D. student in applied engineering, effectively applied his knowledge of physics and engineering to the series. The depiction of stealth technology, uncontrolled decompression, the vacuum of space, and spacecraft propulsion were singled out for praise. Reviewers argued that the show effectively prepared viewers for future scientific developments. The Expanse also stands out for its exploration of complex themes such as colonialism, political intrigue, and social inequality. The series delves into the socio-political dynamics between Earth, Mars, and the Belt, highlighting issues of exploitation, identity, and resistance. This depth of storytelling, combined with its realistic portrayal of space colonization, sets it apart from other science fiction series. In summary, The Expanse's journey from a niche series to a critically acclaimed show is a testament to its compelling storytelling, rich world-building, and dedicated fan base. Its realistic depiction of space colonization, combined with its exploration of complex socio-political themes, has solidified its place as a landmark in science fiction television. The Expanse didn't launch with the fireworks one might expect from a future sci-fi juggernaut. Its earliest days were marked by modest expectations and cautious optimism. When the show debuted in December 2015 on Sci-Fi, it entered a television landscape that had become increasingly crowded with genre content. Shows like Game of Thrones, The Walking Dead, and Westworld dominated the conversation, and newer series had to fight for relevance. But The Expanse took a different route. It didn't attempt to ride trends or rely on flashy CGI spectacles alone. Instead, it opted for deliberate world-building, slow-burn character development, and a dedication to real-world science principles. It wasn't an overnight hit, but it was the kind of series that built loyalty, one viewer at a time. At its heart, The Expanse was based on the book series by James S. A. Corey, the joint pen name of writers Daniel Abraham and Ty Frank. The novels had already earned a cult following for their blend of political drama, complex characters, and realistic portrayals of space travel. When the television adaptation was announced, fans were cautiously hopeful. Sci-Fi had a mixed reputation with science fiction adaptations, and many wondered whether the network would do justice to the source material. To the credit of showrunners Mark Fergus and Hawk Ostby, co-writers of Children of Men and Iron Man, the adaptation remained faithful in tone and spirit, if not always in exact plot. The first season started slow, but introduced a dense, layered universe with three primary factions: Earth governed by the United Nations, Mars a rising military power, and the Belt, a collection of oppressed colonies mining the outer solar system for resources. This political trichotomy, along with the mystery of the alien proto-molecule, laid the foundation for a deeply engrossing narrative. Critics appreciated the show's ambition and scope, though early reviews often noted that it took time to find its rhythm. Still, for those who stuck with it, the payoff was immense. By the end of its first season, The Expanse had begun to solidify a core fan base. Word of mouth, particularly within science fiction circles, started to grow. Viewers praised its moral complexity, diversity of characters, and commitment to showing the physics of space as something both awe-inspiring and terrifying. While mainstream success remained elusive, the series garnered strong ratings among genre fans and received recognition for its writing and design. The performances, particularly from Shohreh Aghdashloo as the razor-sharp UN diplomat Christian Avasarala and Dominique Tipper as Naomi Nagata, were lauded for adding emotional gravity to the sci-fi setting. Despite the critical praise, Sci-Fi cancelled The Expanse after 3 seasons, citing low linear ratings. The fan base erupted in protest. What followed was one of the most impressive fan-led revival campaigns in recent television history. Supporters rallied on social media, launched petitions, and even raised money to fly a Save the Expanse banner over Amazon Studios in Los Angeles. Influential voices like George R.R. Martin and Elon Musk publicly voiced support. Ultimately, Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos, reportedly a fan of the books himself, announced during a panel event that Amazon would pick up The Expanse for a 4th season. The Amazon era marked a turning point for the show. With a bigger budget, increased creative freedom, and access to a global platform, The Expanse grew in scale and confidence. Season 4 introduced stunning visuals, broader world-building, particularly with the ring gates and the planet Ilus, and deeper philosophical themes. The show's writing matured, and so did its characters. Now unshackled from cable TV limitations, The Expanse could fully realize its vision, blending military drama, socio-political allegory, and hard science fiction. As seasons 5 and 6 rolled out, the series reached new heights. Critics began to include it in discussions about the best sci-fi series of the 21st century. Its exploration of real-world issues like class struggle, colonialism, climate change, and authoritarianism resonated with viewers, especially in the politically tumultuous climate of the late 2010s and early 2020s. Its ability to interweave space warfare, political diplomacy, and existential threats made it uniquely powerful among genre shows. By the time the 6th and final season aired, The Expanse had earned its place as a genre-defining masterpiece. It had grown from a risky adaptation into a fully realized epic, admired not only for its narrative scope, but for its refusal to dumb down its subject matter. It respected its audience's intelligence and curiosity, trusting them to keep up with its technical jargon and political nuance. It wasn't just a show about space. It was a story about people, systems, and survival. Critically, it received multiple Hugo Awards and Saturn Award nominations, and its legacy was cemented when its fan base and creators continued to call for adaptations of the remaining books in the series. Though the show officially concluded with Season 6, the creators deliberately left narrative space for a return, possibly after the 30-year time jump present in the novels. The buzz around Season 7, or a future film, continues to this day. Ultimately, The Expanse is a prime example of how persistence, quality storytelling, and a loyal fan base can transform a show from modest beginnings into a defining piece of television. Its rise wasn't built on hype, but on trust in its characters, in its audience, and in its belief that science fiction could be more than spectacle. It could be substance. The final episode of The Expanse, titled Babylon's Ashes, brought with it the daunting task of tying together 6 seasons worth of layered narratives, complex characters, and political intrigue. With such an expansive, pun intended, universe, and so many threads in motion, expectations were incredibly high. Could the show provide a satisfying conclusion while staying true to its tone and style? In short, yes, but in a way that was uniquely The Expanse, thoughtful, unresolved in some areas by design, and deeply emotional. One of the most significant arcs resolved in the finale was that of Marco Inaros, the charismatic and ruthless leader of the Free Navy. Introduced as a radical belter revolutionary, Inaros represented the embodiment of unchecked vengeance and political extremism. Over the course of seasons 5 and 6, he orchestrated asteroid attacks on Earth, seized control of the belt, and threatened the stability of the entire solar system. Inaros's downfall in the finale was both inevitable and symbolic. Rather than dying in a dramatic shootout or a monologue-laden confrontation, he was simply obliterated by the ring entities, cosmic forces far beyond his comprehension or control. His end served as a thematic punctuation mark. Those who seek total power through chaos are often consumed by forces greater than themselves. It was a satisfying conclusion for a villain who had caused so much suffering, while also reminding viewers of the grander, unknowable dangers in the Expanse universe. Equally important was the resolution of the proto-molecule mystery. While the show didn't close every chapter regarding this ancient alien technology, it chose a path that emphasized narrative restraint. The protomolecule storyline had driven much of the show's early tension, from the discovery on Phoebe to the events at the Ring Gate and beyond. In the finale, the protomolecule remained a lingering enigma, an unresolved force that hints at deeper galactic mysteries. Rather than forcing an artificial explanation or concluding the arc in a heavy-handed manner, the writers wisely opted to respect the unknown. This decision not only aligned with the show's scientific ethos, where not every mystery is solvable, but also left the door open for future storytelling, especially from the final trilogy of the novels which take place 30 years later. Perhaps the most impactful moment in the finale was James Holden's resignation. After everything Holden had endured, from being framed for the Canterbury's destruction, to becoming a reluctant leader of the Rocinante crew, to navigating existential threats and interplanetary wars, his final act was one of quiet rebellion. By stepping down as the head of the newly formed Transport Union and passing the mantle to Kamina Drummer, Holden once again showed his unwavering moral compass. He understood that true change couldn't come from within the old power structures. Instead of clinging to authority, he created space for others, especially Belters, to take charge of their own future. It was a poetic end for a man who never sought leadership but always acted when it mattered most. Drummer's rise to power, in contrast, was hard-earned and immensely satisfying. As a Belter who had suffered personal loss, betrayal, and political disenfranchisement, Drummer had emerged as one of the show's most compelling characters. Her arc, from a loyal OPA soldier to a revolutionary leader, and finally to the head of the Transport Union, encapsulated the Belt's journey toward recognition and autonomy. By placing a Belter in charge of the ring gates and trade routes, the show acknowledged a deep injustice and attempted to correct it. This wasn't just character development, it was narrative justice. The emotional resonance of the finale also lay in the smaller, quieter moments. Naomi's conversation with her son Philip, who ultimately abandoned his father and survived the final battle, Amos's humorous but grounded presence, Clarissa's continued redemption, and even Bobby Draper's fierce loyalty reminded viewers that The Expanse was never just about politics or technology. It was always about people. Flawed, determined, conflicted people trying to survive and shape the future. The finale also took a bold approach by leaving some storylines unresolved. The mystery of the ring entities, the fate of Laconia, and the deeper implications of the protomolecule remain untouched. But this wasn't due to oversight. It was deliberate. By leaving narrative space open, The Expanse honored the complexity of its universe. Just as in real life, not all answers are immediate or even attainable. This decision served two purposes. It kept the door open for future content, potentially adapting the final 3 books, and stayed true to the show's thematic DNA: curiosity, caution, and consequence. From a storytelling perspective, the finale struck a near-impossible balance. It gave satisfying character conclusions while leaving viewers with questions. It addressed political and emotional stakes without over-explaining its cosmic mythology. It rewarded longtime viewers while still allowing new ones to be intrigued by what lies beyond. Most finales either wrap everything too neatly or leave fans frustrated by ambiguity. The Expanse achieved the rare feat of doing both, and doing it well. In terms of impact, the finale cemented The Expanse as a genre-defining series. It didn't pander to fan service, nor did it sacrifice its integrity for spectacle. Instead, it remained consistent with its tone: intelligent, complex, and patient. For many fans, it was the kind of ending that invites immediate rewatching, not just for emotional closure, but to better appreciate the layers built over 6 seasons. The legacy of this finale will likely grow over time. Like Battlestar Galactica or The Wire, The Expanse ended in a way that reflected its core message. In a universe where power shifts, science is as terrifying as it is inspiring, and survival is never guaranteed, it delivered a closing chapter that was both grounded and cosmic. The finale of The Expanse is not just the conclusion of a narrative. It is the thematic crescendo of a story that has, from the very beginning, sought to examine the fundamental tensions that define human existence. With its intricate political machinations, rich cultural diversity, and realistic depiction of spacefaring civilizations, The Expanse has always aimed to be more than a science fiction saga. It's a mirror held up to our world, exploring the complexities of power, morality, and coexistence. In its final season, and particularly in its last episode, the show masterfully distilled many of its most profound themes into moments of quiet reflection and dramatic consequence. At the heart of the finale lies the duality of human nature, our capacity for both greatness and destruction. This theme pulses through the actions and decisions of central characters. James Holden, the moral core of the series, continues to represent the potential for goodness and selflessness. Time and again, he chooses principle over power, even when doing so places him and those he loves in peril. In the finale, his choice to resign from leading the newly established transport union, despite being the preferred candidate, epitomizes this ethic. By stepping aside and offering the position to Kamina Drummer, a representative of the Belt, he acknowledges that true leadership is not about control, but about enabling justice and balance. It's a powerful rejection of the cycle of domination that has long plagued the solar system. In stark contrast stands Marco Inaros, whose trajectory serves as a warning about the seductive and corrosive nature of power. Inaros begins as a revolutionary with a cause, liberation for the Belters, but ends as a demagogue, obsessed with control and domination. His descent into authoritarianism illustrates how noble ideals can be twisted when ambition overrides empathy and reason. The finale's depiction of his demise is not merely an end to a villain, it is a thematic judgment. His death at the hands of the Ring entities, forces that exist beyond human politics and weaponry, serves as a symbolic obliteration of arrogance. It reminds viewers that no amount of calculated strategy or revolutionary rhetoric can shield one from the consequences of hubris. Kamina Drummer represents the complex intersection between survival, sacrifice, and leadership. As a Belter who has experienced firsthand the struggles of her people, she carries the weight of trauma, anger, and hope. In the finale, her acceptance of the leadership of the Transport Union is not only a personal victory, but a thematic statement. For the first time, a Belter will have control over one of the most powerful economic and political infrastructures in the system. The trade routes through the Ring gates. It signals a potential end to the marginalization and exploitation of the Belt and underscores the idea that representation and equity are necessary for true peace. Another central theme explored in the finale is diplomacy and collaboration over warfare and domination. Throughout the series, characters are often thrust into situations where violence seems like the only option. Yet time and again, The Expanse showcases that the most lasting solutions come not from brute force, but from negotiation, trust building, and sacrifice. The very formation of the Transport Union, a cooperative organization meant to ensure equal access to the Ring network, is a triumph of this philosophy. It acknowledges the need for a shared vision in a fractured and competitive universe, where any imbalance could lead to catastrophe. The show also reflects on the consequences of imperialism and historical injustice. The treatment of the Belters throughout the series is a thinly veiled allegory for colonized and exploited populations in our own world. For centuries, Earth and Mars reaped the benefits of Belter labor, while offering little in return but oppression and neglect. The finale does not erase these injustices, but it presents a possibility for healing and reparation. By giving the Belters control over the most vital economic corridor in human space, the Expanse posits that equity must be rooted in structural change, not just token gestures. Beyond politics and power, the finale also engages with existential questions about humanity's place in the universe. The lingering mysteries of the protomolecule and the ring entities are never fully explained, and that ambiguity is intentional. In doing so, the show leaves viewers with a sense of awe and humility. As technologically advanced as humans have become in this universe, they are still children, playing with fire in a cosmos governed by rules they do not understand. The presence of these higher powers underscores the theme that humanity, for all its achievements and conflicts, is still learning. The message is both cautionary and inspiring. Our potential is vast, but so is the danger of overreach. The final moments of the show subtly reinforce the idea that hope is a choice. Amid the political reshuffling, shifting alliances and personal sacrifices, characters like Holden, Drummer and Naomi choose to believe in the possibility of a better future. This thematic undercurrent of hope, tempered by realism but never extinguished, runs like a vein through the final episode. It's a rare and commendable choice for a show that has never shied away from depicting the brutal realities of power, war, and survival. Ultimately, the finale of The Expanse is not just a conclusion. It is a philosophical reflection. It asks the audience to consider the kind of future we want to build, both in fiction and in our own world. Do we continue cycles of oppression and vengeance, or do we choose empathy, fairness, and cooperation? Do we chase power for its own sake, or do we wield it responsibly to uplift others? These questions, posed in the language of space opera, carry profound implications. By weaving these themes into its conclusion, The Expanse cements itself as one of the most thematically rich and socially conscious science fiction series of our time. It delivers not just a satisfying end to a story, but a compelling meditation on what it means to be human in a universe larger than we can fully comprehend. When The Expanse aired its final episode, it did far more than conclude a television series. It closed a chapter in modern science fiction while opening the door to an enduring legacy that will continue to echo across genre storytelling for decades. From its bold narrative choices to its unwavering dedication to scientific plausibility and philosophical depth, The Expanse has carved out a distinctive space in the sci-fi pantheon. Its impact can already be seen across television, literature, fan culture, and even real-world discourse on space exploration and geopolitics. It's not merely remembered, it is studied, emulated, and passionately celebrated. One of the most defining aspects of The Expanse is its commitment to realism in science fiction. In contrast to many popular space operas that lean into fantasy or disregard scientific laws for convenience, The Expanse embraced a hard sci-fi approach. From the effects of zero gravity and radiation on the human body to the logistical and political challenges of interplanetary travel, the series portrayed space not as a playground, but as an environment to be survived and respected. The use of Epstein drives, the need for thrust gravity, the biological adaptations of belters, and the depiction of time delays in communication all grounded the show in a version of space that felt real and, at times, terrifying. This attention to detail didn't just enrich the narrative, it reshaped audience expectations for what grounded science fiction could look like on television. Just as crucial was The Expanse's embrace of morally complex characters and layered storytelling. Few characters in the show are entirely good or evil. James Holden, the show's idealistic captain, often finds himself morally conflicted. Naomi Nagata carries the scars of her past with Marco Inaros, making decisions that are emotionally fraught and ethically grey. Even Christian Avasarala, one of the show's most brilliant tacticians, is capable of both inspiring leadership and ruthless political maneuvering. This refusal to flatten characters into archetypes gives The Expanse its emotional weight. It mirrors real life, where morality is rarely black and white, and decisions often come with heavy consequences. This complexity encouraged audiences to engage more deeply with the narrative, fostering a mature, invested fan base that continues to analyze and debate the show's philosophical and ethical dimensions. Equally enduring is the world-building of The Expanse. The solar system envisioned in the series is astonishingly rich, not just in its visuals, but in its socio-political dynamics. Earth, Mars, and the Belt are not just locations, they are evolving civilizations, each with their own cultures, languages, technologies, and ideologies. The tension between these factions provides a mirror to our own world's struggles with nationalism, inequality, migration, and colonialism. The Belters' fight for autonomy reflects the voices of oppressed and marginalized communities. Martian militarism, Earth's political decadence, and the exploitation of the Belt all echo real-world patterns of resource-driven imperialism. By building a future that extrapolates from contemporary geopolitical issues, The Expanse invites viewers to think critically, not only about what might come, but about the world we currently inhabit. Moreover, the legacy of The Expanse is not confined to storytelling. It has spurred active discussions in science, ethics, and space policy. Scientists, engineers, and space enthusiasts have praised the show's handling of orbital mechanics, resource economics, and the socio-cultural implications of human expansion into space. Its portrayal of life in low gravity and the challenges of terraforming offer speculative blueprints that stimulate real-world dialogue. Ethicists and political theorists have used episodes to illustrate debates around governance, military escalation, and post-colonialism. In doing so, The Expanse has transcended entertainment. It has become a platform for education and discourse. The characters themselves, Holden, Naomi, Amos, Drummer, Avasarala, Bobby Draper, are now iconic figures in science fiction lore. Each represents different aspects of the human condition. Holden, the idealist; Naomi, the survivor; Amos, the moral outlier; Drummer, the revolutionary; Avasarala, the realpolitik strategist. Their arcs are not just memorable, they are resonant. Fans relate to them, quote them, and see parts of themselves in them. These are not just roles in a drama, they are touchstones of identity within the community that The Expanse has built. And that community is robust. The fan base of The Expanse, often referred to as screaming firehawks, is one of the most engaged and loyal in modern sci-fi. They were instrumental in the show's revival when it was cancelled after season 3, successfully campaigning for its continuation under Amazon Studios. This unprecedented fan action demonstrated the passion and influence of a dedicated audience. It's rare for a science fiction series to be saved by its fans and then go on to produce 3 more critically acclaimed seasons. The Expanse didn't just survive, it thrived thanks to the people who believed in its story. Looking forward, the legacy of The Expanse is still unfolding. There remains enormous potential for future stories. The television adaptation ends with the events of the 6th novel, Babylon's Ashes, leaving the final trilogy, Persepolis Rising, Tiamat's Wrath, and Leviathan Falls, untouched. These books take place 30 years later and introduce new threats, political shifts, and personal transformations. Given the open-ended nature of the finale, the universe is ripe for return, whether in the form of a sequel series, limited event series, spin-offs focusing on side characters, or even feature films. The groundwork has been laid. The appetite is there. It is simply a matter of when and how the universe of The Expanse will expand once more. In summary, The Expanse is more than a great show. It's a landmark achievement in science fiction. It changed what audiences expect from genre television. It redefined what it means to tell intelligent, character-driven, socially conscious stories in space. And it proved that science fiction can be as grounded as it is visionary, as political as it is poetic. Its legacy lives on not just in awards or accolades, but in the hearts of fans, in the essays of scholars, and in the imaginations of future creators inspired by its boldness and brilliance. As The Expanse closes its chapter, what remains is not an absence, but a presence. It lingers in conversations between fans, in theories still debated, in the hearts of viewers who saw reflections of themselves in the ragtag crew of the Rocinante or the determined revolutionaries of the Belt. Few shows managed to stick the landing while staying true to their vision. The Expanse did so by honoring its characters, embracing its themes, and daring to tell a complex human story across the stars. But the end of a series doesn't mean the end of the journey. On the contrary, it's a perfect time for fans, new and old, to revisit what made this universe so compelling. Rewatching pivotal episodes, diving into the books, creating and sharing fan theories, or simply introducing the show to someone who hasn't yet experienced it. These are acts that keep the spirit of The Expanse alive. And more than ever, community engagement matters. Science fiction thrives on discussion, interpretation, and imagination. The Screaming Firehawks didn't just watch The Expanse, they kept it alive. That energy can now be directed into shaping what comes next, whether it's fan creations, demand for sequels, or meaningful discourse about the show's messages. To make the most of your continued journey through the Expanse universe and many other top-tier science fiction series, there is no better platform than Flixer. With its rich catalog of genre-defining TV shows, films, and exclusives, Flixer is the ultimate destination for fans who crave smart, gripping storytelling. Whether you want to rewatch every tense negotiation, heart-pounding battle, or quietly emotional character moment from The Expanse, or you're ready to discover the next sci-fi epic, Flixer offers seamless streaming, curated recommendations, and fan-driven collections tailored for viewers who think beyond the stars. So don't let the journey end here. Share your thoughts on the finale, engage with the community, and fuel the demand for more stories from this beloved universe. And when you are ready to dive back in, whether it's CS for a rewatch or a brand new adventure, Flixer is your launchpad to the far reaches of imagination. The stars are waiting.